Today, protests in D.C. after another officer-involved shooting. President Trump pulls federal funds from cities that permit anarchy. And the NFL is finally ending racism with end zone messages. Who knew it was that easy? We've got a lot coming up today, and it starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Jaco Booyens, my good friend, host of the Jaco Booyens Show. Thank you for being here,
Thank you, Sarah.
Friend. And on his maiden voyage on the show, Christian Walker, political commentator, content creator. You can find all of his stuff, and it is good stuff, by the way, at YouTube. It is Christian Walker. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. So let's talk. You know, it's funny because I was looking at the headlines of the day, and I'm like, these things are both things that I think are going to set both of you off. So I can't wait to hear both of your thoughts on the headlines of the day. Let's start with the protests that are happening in D.C. right now. Now, this was after yesterday, an incident with police involving a man named Dion K. This was a black man. I believe he was 18 years old. He was shot and killed yesterday by police officers. And of course, that set off a late night face-off between police and dozens of protesters outside a city police station. Now, I could tell you what happened or what the officers say happened, or I could just show you the body cam footage that they released along with a picture of the gun in question. But there is a gun involved, and it's not just the officer's weapons that I'm talking about. Here is the body cam footage from the officer-involved shooting. Again, if you have small children, I feel like I repeat this every day these days on the news and why it matters. But if you have small children, probably don't want them to watch any of this. But here it is.
Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Toss it down there. Toss it down there. Hey, shots fired. Shots fired. Where is it? Where is it? I don't know. I'm looking for the gun. He's up there. I did. I got it right here.
Do we think he has a gun?
I don't know. This is the one that he was holding.
You good?
I'm good. I'm involved.
And since I know it's trendy to, not trust police these days, just so we're clear, there is a still shot that they also released, the police in Washington, D.C., from the body cam footage where you can see they slowed it down, they paused it. You can clearly see a man, Dion K., holding the firearm. This is from the body cam footage. So holding a firearm, waving it around in front of police. I don't know what else you would expect, Jaco, when you do something like this. I guess the police are just supposed to say, you know what, I don't really want to go home to my family tonight. Oh, I noticed that you're black. I think I'm just going to let this one go.
Yeah, and also notice there's a black police officer there, and you don't time these things. You don't know who exits first, who arrives in the city. It could have been a black police officer that was the first guy to run, right, and get shot. And maybe, Sarah, this is what they want. They want some random guy on live television to shoot and kill another police officer, and they've done it repeatedly. But it's never enough, right? Because it's not really about Black Lives Mattering. It's about a political movement. Please, moms of your sons, black, white, Hispanic, tell your sons, do not run away from police. Don't resist arrest. If you know you have warrants out for your arrest and you get pulled over by the cops, hands up, no guns. Don't run with guns in public. Don't reach for weapons. Let's train our young men that listen, if you get pulled over by an officer, maybe for a busted taillight, who knows for what, okay? Can we just train the young men to behave? Because if you run anybody, it doesn't have to be a black man, Sarah. If you run with a weapon in public, they're going to defend themselves. Period. End of story.
And I would just add to that point and say, with all these police incidents, zero of them have had anything to do with skin color. George Floyd refused to cooperate with the police. Rayshard Brooks stole a weapon from a cop. Jacob Blake was going to grab a knife. And then this guy, it's just another instance of a violent criminal refusing to follow the law. Nothing to do with skin color.
Right. Is it demeaning to you, Christian, to have people say, act as if you should be held to some sort of different standard because of your skin color?
It's offensive. Don't put that criminal activity on my skin color. These men are not innocent men. They're dying because of their inability to follow the law. And furthermore, I find it not surprising that it's the Democrat Party that's pushing this agenda, the racist Democrats that are trying to make it seem like these are innocent men. No, it's criminal men.
Yeah.
Can I share something with
Please.
Christian? Christian, I want to tell you something. I'm from South Africa, okay? We lived in the most racially contentious time in history, true racism, and it had to fix. And if you swing the pendulum all the way the other direction with hyperbole and make belief and bringing situations in and fabricating things like this, you're actually harming the very community you pretend to care about more than they've ever been harmed. This is harming the black community in America. It's setting a precedent that all young black men wants to run around with guns, that all black men wants to, it's setting a precedent that no black fathers are involved in. It's bad all around. And Sarah, it's backfiring on the liberals. Mm-hmm. It's backfiring big time, and it's going to show on November 3rd that this ploy, they started this, and they've lost control. They've lost control of their own ploy here.
And the media is encouraging this behavior and encouraging this behavior to resist arrest. Mm-hmm. That's why these criminals are dying. That's why we're seeing all these issues. So now black kids growing up that are going to eventually be men and may run into officers later in their life are going to feel like they're justified to resist arrest.
Right.
Well, it's interesting because, I completely agree with you. And we see a Democratic presidential candidate who is going out and he is speaking on television and he is saying that the man who belonged to the Patriot Prayer Group, who died, who was executed, he says, well, he was inciting a response. Yet men who are resisting arrest, as you pointed out, who have knives, who have guns, right, they're not inciting any sort of response whatsoever. They're not to be held accountable for their actions, but a counter-protester who is, by all intents and purposes, peaceful, has no intention to kill anyone, to do any harm.
It's all about skin color. Totally about skin color. It's a full-on war on white people. The Democrats are waging war against white people.
Well, so to that point, gentlemen, just today, a trio of Democrats introduced legislation to declare structural racism a public health crisis and to create a federal government center to tackle racial disparities in healthcare for black communities and other minorities. Now, this is Elizabeth Warren, who has teamed up with Ayanna Pressley, which that's how you know it's really great is when Ayanna Pressley is involved. That's the Ringo of the squad, for those of you who don't know. And Representative Barbara Lee of California. And they want the federal government to begin actively developing, quote, anti-racist health policy. And they pointed, of course, as examples, they pointed to the coronavirus pandemic and police brutality. So I guess viruses are racist now, and police brutality, which it's weird because every statistic I've looked at when it comes to officer-involved shootings, none of them indicate that we have any sort of systemic or structural racism.
More white people are dying because of cops than black people, but...
Yeah,
but they don't see that on CNN, Christian.
It's never shown, and it's the same. Look, it's the same playbook. They treat race relations the same way they treated COVID. We're going to throw numbers at you that we have no factual evidence to back it up with. We're going to tell you there's systemic racism in this country when in fact there's not. It's actually an amazing country where people just want to get along. They want to work together, right? And they drive the same playbook. And they push it all on the conservative movement, but it is the liberals that is hoodwinked for decades, the black community in this country. And I really do believe that enough has been enough. And the black community is saying, listen, you're not speaking for us anymore. I must believe that. Unfortunately, though, what we have to pay attention to is these are young men. These guys are all under 30. There's a reason. There's a reason these are young men, because young men are influenceable. Most of their actions is all emotion. You know, there's no left brain, right brain cognitive process here. Should I run from the cops with a gun in my hand? Yeah, we can get into the father figures, you know. So it's not the guys in their 40s. It's a young man. Why? We can create healthy community relations between the black community and the police department again, because I believe black moms know innately police are there to protect.
Do you agree, Christian?
And Democrats make everything about skin color. They're saying police brutality has to do with skin color, and it does not. It has to do with lack of respect for authority. And then as far as COVID affecting black communities, can we acknowledge that there's a high percentage of black people with diabetes or with heart health conditions? It's about comorbidities. COVID is affecting people with comorbidities more than it is anyone else. Has nothing to do with skin color, but the racist Democrats can't really get that.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting, too, because I saw one of the supporters of this bill said, many don't equate racism with health care, but countless African Americans and people of color have lost their lives as a result of being denied quality health care. And two things stick out to me there. The main one being, I thought that the Democrats' golden boy, Obama, was the one who solved all of that with Obamacare. Haven't we had that? That's been the law of the land for a long time now. So if African Americans are still being denied quality health care, whose fault is that really?
And Joe Biden's been in office for 47 plus years, so I would think he would have made changes to this systemic racism we see in the country, but it just doesn't exist.
You're asking a guy who truly has made the most racist remarks. You know, he, truly, honestly. You know what I'm realizing here, Sarah? The most racist act for me in this country at the moment is one people group saying, we're going to speak for another people group. You can't speak for yourself, but don't worry. We got you covered. Don't worry, black folk. You can't speak for yourself because you can't multi-think like Hispanics.
Joe Biden, he said it.
So we're going to do it for you. So you got a bunch of absolute criminal hoodlum white folks marching and burning cities down on behalf of the black community, who's looking at this going, you're all idiots. We don't want this. We don't want to burn our country down. I've not spoken to a single black man in this country. When I ask a straight question, do you want to break America? No. Do you want to defund the police? No. I can recall when they kept me safe in my neighborhood, when that wasn't there. Mama, that is race. That's the systemic racism. It's coming from Pelosi and Schiff and Nadler and Obama and Biden. That's where racism lies, truly. Because they're perpetuating a narrative that's not the narrative of the people. Yeah. They're pushing it on people.
What would you say, Christian, to someone who, you know, an average American, probably doesn't watch a lot of news, hears the term Black Lives Matter and think to themselves, well, what could possibly be wrong with that? This is an organization who obviously is against racism. Black Lives Matter, of course they do. Yeah. I fully support this group.
The left is brilliant with language, between Planned Parenthood, between Black Lives Matter. Genuinely, Black Lives Matter is nothing more than the KKK in blackface. It's a violent domestic terrorist group that wants to destroy Western civilization. It has nothing to do with Black lives. If they cared about the black community, they would go in and help black schools. They would build up communities, but all they do is tear down. So it's unacceptable.
They tear down, and then they have donations going in to Act Blue and to all of these organizations that are funding all of these Democrat lawmakers that haven't helped black communities in 50 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they keep doing the same thing.
Buildings in Chicago that was burned down 50 years ago, still not rebuilt. If you really, I always go back there. If you really care about black lives, then let's go. Let's get in a car and drive to any inner city and come show me. Come show me that you want to reform schools. Come show me that you want to train the fathers to take responsibility. Come, let's go do it together.
Show me that you care at all about the black on black crime happening every weekend in Chicago, you know, Detroit, those places.
But that doesn't fit the political narrative.
No, it sure doesn't. All right, we've got a lot more coming up with these two firecrackers. I can't wait. First, we want to thank our sponsor. This segment Keeps. So if you are someone who maybe you're looking in the mirror and you're like, oh, my hair used to look so full and wonderful, and it doesn't look like it used to. All right, I know, it's especially if you're a man, it's embarrassing. You don't want to go to the doctor. You get embarrassed, and you guys don't go to the doctor for anything anyway. We can't get you guys to go to the doctor. I know you're not going to. So Here is a better option for you, the man who is not going to go to the doctor, but who is a little bit embarrassed about hair loss. You can go to Keeps. Keeps will give you the same doctor-recommended, FDA-approved hair loss treatment, but Keeps will give you the generic version, so you are going to save like half the cost. And it's all done online. You don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to leave your couch if you're a couch potato these days. Everyone, we trained ourselves in quarantine to all be couch potatoes. All you have to do is answer a couple questions, take a couple pictures of your hair, and a licensed doctor will review your information, recommend the right hair loss treatment for you, and then they ship it directly to your door. It is that easy. You don't have to make unnecessary trips to the doctor, to the drugstore. We can get you started right now with a very special deal. Go to keeps.com/Y. That is WHY for 50% off your first order. That is keeps.com/Y. Get you 50% off right now at keeps.com/Y. Back in a minute. All right, President Trump has ordered federal agencies to find ways to, quote, defund cities that have permitted anarchy amid all of these riots going on in the country. This is according to a report from the New York Post. So the president said, my administration, this was in a memo to his agencies. He said, my administration will not allow federal tax dollars to fund cities that allow themselves to deteriorate into lawless zones. To ensure that federal funds are neither unduly wasted nor spent in a manner that directly violates our government's promise to protect life, liberty, and property, it is imperative that the federal government review the use of federal funds by jurisdictions that permit anarchy, violence, and destruction in America's cities. Of course, targeted in this report were cities like New York City, Washington, D.C., Seattle, and Portland, which is the least shocking thing ever, because when you look at what's going on in these cities every single night, I don't know how else you would describe it. I would say, Jaco, on this one, finally.
Finally, you know what that is? That's called great leadership.
Leadership.
That is a commander-in-chief. That's a CEO of a company that said, I have a fiduciary responsibility to this nation, right? And you guys, at the same time, remember, trying to, on the other hand, pass a $2.5 trillion another stimulus bill. It's like it's monopoly money, like it's toilet paper. And he's saying enough is enough. I say defund it all. You want to defund something? Pull federal funding from schools. Pull it from California's firefighting department. Say, hey, we're not going to help you do anything. It's like we do with our children. You make a mess, you clean the mess.
Yeah.
You burn it down. Okay, show us that you can be responsible again, and we can come. But you're not going to do it on our dollar, not on the taxpayer's dollar, right? Because we pay taxes to the federal government, and now Johnny over here is spending it burning down a school or burning down a building in Portland. I have no part in that.
Yeah, here in Texas, we elected people who wouldn't let anyone do that.
Exactly.
Including Sheriff Bill Wayburn, who was here yesterday. I'm like, these are the guys we elected here.
Yes.
I don't want my hard-earned money going because you guys elected a bunch of yahoos who don't want to protect you. Christian.
It's the Democrat mayors and governors who have encouraged this behavior. It's the Democrat mayors and governors who were out rioting with the rioters. So you know what? You reap what you sow. If that's what you want to do, then you don't get the federal funds from President Trump. And I think he should also defund the indoctrination centers, also known as universities.
Jaco, I think you might have something to say on that.
Yeah, for sure. It's infiltrated our school system. Universities for sure for a long time, but now we prove it's down to kindergarten. It's in kindergarten, taxpayer-funded legislation in kindergarten, middle school, high school, indoctrinating our kids with a Black Lives Matter movement. Glenn did an incredible special on that. We did a special on the comprehensive sex ed curriculum that's pushed into schools, just supporting it. It's that mind-open indoctrination in, as Glenn said, defund the whole caboodle, right? And look, he said, if you need us, we'll step in. Just call us, you know? Just humble yourself for a second and say, excuse me, Mr. President, we broke our state. Can you come help us? And we'll fix it in an hour, as he says, right? Yeah. And they did. They rolled in and fixed it. But well done, Mr. President.
Portland's been under siege for over 3 months now, and still Ted Wheeler, the mayor, refuses to call in the National Guard, refuses to let Trump send federal troops in. And
then he has the gall to blame President Trump for all of this violence. And it's like, bro, we've watched you reject all of these federal funds. We've watched you reject the National Guard. We've watched you reject federal help. how in the world do you think the American people are going to listen to you and believe what you're saying?
Well, where else do they pivot to, Sarah? The only pivot, the natural pivot, is Trump caused the riots.
Right.
That's the natural pivot. Not because
For everything.
For everything.
Blame
Because
Trump.
at first it was like, no, people should have the right to peacefully protest with the car on fire behind them, with the truck on fire behind them.
Well, mostly peaceful.
And now that that's hurting them in the polls, it's like, well, Biden, I don't support protest. Trump caused it.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course.
That's right. Yeah.
But how many people, I mean, he's got to be fooling some people, right? Because like it or not, there are a lot of people who have been indoctrinated by the school system, by the universities, who have absolutely no idea how the federal government system works, how our country was founded, the fact that the president does not and should not have control over what the states do. So how many people do you think I feel like he probably is fooling some people. I hope that it won't be enough.
No, I hope it won't be enough, but CNN wouldn't be CNN if they were not effective.
Right.
MSNBC wouldn't be MSNBC if it wasn't effective. It's highly effective. Mm-hmm. And like we said before, you push a story with a false narrative, the redaction of the story never gets the attention, so they don't care.
Right.
They'll throw it out there. It is indoctrination. It's 100%. Look, it's just repeat the same thing over and over and over, and it becomes your truth. And unfortunately, they're very successful, and we better fight. Yeah. We better not for 1 second think that they're not successful. We shouldn't claim the obvious. Oh, America's smarter than that. Better be sure.
Yeah.
Better be sure that your neighbors and your kids' parents and the friends are awake to this, that, hey, they are hoodwinking us here.
I do wonder, Christian, if the Democrats have realized the error of their ways. Not that they would ever admit it publicly, but it does look like they are trying to do damage control, because we've seen President Trump come out and talk about these riots, the rioting, the looting. It has to stop. We need law and order. I mean, he's been consistent on this. The Democrats have been silent until this week? Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden Joe Biden wants to come out and say, oh, I condemn all these riots. Well, where were you 100 days ago? I'm wondering if that's the Democrats seeing all of these polls and going, oh, gosh, I guess we overestimated what Americans were like. I guess they do value security and safety.
Absolutely. I think the left's kind of overplayed their hand. If you look at the poll numbers, Trump's poll numbers are going up, but not only with white voters, with black voters, with Hispanic voters. So I think
people in the inner communities, the inner cities.
Totally. Minority communities don't want their police defunded. They don't want their neighborhoods destroyed. So yeah, it's going to be reflected November 3rd.
Yeah. God, we can only hope so. All right. Before we go, let's get to one more story. Just talking about the election. I feel like this is President Trump poising himself for, yet again, another win, just going hard at Joe Biden. But he has decided that he was going to have the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issue a moratorium on evictions. It decrees, now this, you're like, what does the CDC have to do with this? It decrees that landlords who are found to be in violation of the order could face fines of up to $100,000 a year. I'm sorry, of up to $100,000 and a year behind bars. So President Trump instructed them to consider how they could halt evictions, basically. And this was President Trump saying, to my knowledge, saying, okay, you guys don't, in Congress, you don't want to do your jobs. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to call, everyone back to actually vote on relief for the American people. This is how I'm going to help you. This is how I'm going to keep you in your homes so that you don't get evicted. Am I missing anything, Yaku? That's how I see it. I see this as a play to make sure the American people know he is with them going into the election.
Look, a friend of this network, and this is firsthand knowledge of something that happened in the White House, a friend of this network shared this with me the other day. You're dealing with a man here who truly, people don't know. They don't know him really. This guy is playing master chess, thinking 3, 4, 7 steps ahead, lateral thinking, and he's literally looking at every resource at his disposal to get one job done. Make America great, safe, healthy, whole again. And if I've got to pivot this way and work through the CDC or through the National Guard or through, the SPCA for that matter, if I have to, I'm going to protect and be for the American people. And Americans should see this as the guy's for us. He's fighting like heck, because there's vipers in the hen house, okay? There's so much against him, and I tip my hat for him. I don't know another person would wake up in the morning and eat this double-decker stress sandwich that he's got to eat every day, right? But this is just him being super creative, going, I'm going to do anything in my power to protect the Americans, because they're halting your money, They're asking for crazy stuff, new Green Deal. I'm caring about you not losing your home. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay? They don't care about that.
Yeah. Christian.
President Trump has proven over and over that he genuinely cares about the American people, and he's working with this political party who couldn't care less about the American people and solely cares about furthering their own agenda. So I think President Trump is willing to do whatever he can, given the cards he has and he can play right now.
Yeah. I totally agree with both of you. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to let you know, if you missed the show earlier this week when we talked about riding the dragon. All right, you got to pay attention. There's a new documentary that we have out. How much have the Bidens been compromised by the Chinese communist regime? You got to find out. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. Find out in this new bombshell documentary. It is called Riding the Dragon. It is exclusive to our network, BlazeTV. It is from the directors behind the explosive Clinton Cash. There is a new revealing documentary showing how for decades the Biden family has used Joe Biden's public service to line their own pockets. But there is a much more alarming scandal, and it runs much deeper than a public official's corruption. Riding the Dragon reveals how the Chinese Communist Party gave Joe's son, the private equity firm that Joe's son was a part of, a sweetheart deal. It was worth in excess of $1 billion. This is heavy stuff. And if you think that you watched Glenn's chalkboard and that was enough, you've got to watch this documentary. It's amazing. It's going to blow your mind how Joe Biden can still be part of the political landscape and still running for president, by the way. You can go to blazetv.com/dragon to watch the documentary in its entirety. I'm telling you guys, you're not going to want to miss it. And again, I mean, it's Blaze TV. So if you don't have time to finish it all in one, you can go watch part of it, stop it, do what you need to do, come back and finish it. But it is crucial that you not only watch it, but you spread the word, because not enough people realize what Joe Biden has truly done and how corrupt this man is. Again, you can go to blazetv.com/dragon. You can use the promo code. You can use Dragon20, or you can use the promo code news. Either way, you'll get $20 off of a year of a Blaze TV subscription. That is blazetv.com/dragon. Back in a minute. All right, the NFL. I didn't know who was going to do it, but finally we find out it's the NFL who they're solving racism. They're curing racism because they will now add social justice phrases in the end zones during this entire 2020 season. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said that the NFL stands with the Black community, the players, the clubs, and fans confronting systemic racism. We will not relent in our work. So they're painting the phrases "end racism" and "it takes all of us" in their end zones. And they're gonna cure. Great job, guys. They're going to cure racism with these messages in their end zones now. By the way, this comes after the Baltimore Ravens released a statement last week condemning the Jacob Blake shooting that we've been covering here on Blaze TV as an act of, quote, racial discrimination, and calling on elected officials to pass police reform. So thankfully now we have the NFL who, we've been begging to get more political. So good thing they have. I can't wait to watch the season.
Yeah.
Well, I sure don't see the systemic racism reflected in their demographics. Maybe they're a little racist towards Asian people or white people. Maybe we should have affirmative action for the NFL, because I really don't see it's majority Black.
That's a great point. And that's what gets me about all of these multi-millionaire football players who come out
like
and
they're
talk
oppressed.
talk about how, Black people have it so hard. And I'm like, you guys run the league. You guys are making so much money. How are you going to come and talk to the rest of America like you have any idea?
I know.
Yeah, but you just said it. The problem that we have in our country, and in no other country is this the case, the players run the league. You're an employee. Mm-hmm. I was an employee. Trust me, I know.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Best game I ever played in my life on a Sunday. I got cut the Monday morning. I was an employee. Okay?
Yeah.
That's it. You're an employee. Do your job. Show up at your job and do your job. Sorry, no disrespect to Dad. He was a champion. I play too, but you're an entertainer. You're an entertainer, okay? And you can use that platform for such good, right? But they run the leagues because the leagues are a bunch of wusses. Goodell is a wuss, okay? He will cower to anything for anybody, okay? That guy hunts money, nothing else. He is so far in the Kaepernick camp, you know, it's despicable. I was hoping there was a sliver, Sarah, a little dream, a vision, that the NFL may just focus on football, right? Nope, we can't do that. I'm mad at the owners. Stand up. You own a private business with employees called players. Yeah. You make the rules for that business. You guys elected this guy called Goodell. You extended his contract when Jerry said, I don't want to, right? You guys picked this. It's just funny in our country, we're seeing a nation has the leadership they deserve. You elect these people in California. You elect these people in Baltimore. You elected this guy, Roger Goodell. So now you deal with it. We're not going to watch.
That, and to Yaku's point, Christian, you know, it was interesting to me when the players came out and started saying, well, this is kind of akin to slavery because we've got the owners of these teams and it's like they own us. And it's like, I mean, if that's what slavery is in 2020, sign me up.
I want to be a slave.
Right?
I really do. And furthermore, the American people really don't want to hear politics from people who are paid to play with balls. They just don't.
Right.
It's inappropriate. So no words for that.
Do you think that they will ever see any repercussions? Do you think that this will be the year that people are done? Or do you think that as long as their pockets are lined, they won't see any repercussions, they won't change?
I mean, my family and friends aren't going to be watching, and I think there's a lot of Americans who aren't going to be tuning in, so I'm praying that that's the case. But as long as LeBron is a talking head for the NBA, as long as we have these anti-Semitic BLMers acting as though they you know, run the sports league, I don't know. I don't see a way out.
Sarah, if we've ever seen a time when that could happen, it's now.
That's what I'm wondering.
Major League Baseball is hurting.
Yeah.
The NBA is hurting. You know, they won't tell you, but they're hurting. They're hurting where it matters. The owners are hurting. Elon Musk moved Tesla out of California because he's hurting. He lost 18% today, by the way. 18%.
Wow.
The company today.
Wow.
Okay? All of a sudden, I don't like California anymore, okay? The owners, hear me today, you're going to lose billions. There's no concessions. There's no food and drink. There's no gate fees. There's no, your jersey sales are going to be down. They're going to lose billions. And so they should if they are supporting this kind of nonsense.
Well, and it's not just that. I know we talked a little bit off air about this, but even the people who, you know, obviously you can't go to the games, but even the people who are going, all right, I don't like what they're doing, but it's my team.
I love
and
football.
I want to watch my team, right? I got to watch my football. We have nothing else. We've had a really crappy year, all right? And all I want to do is have my sports. But then factor in the fact that a lot of children also are watching the sports games. And I don't want my son walking into the room and just constantly being inundated with end racism, Black Lives Matter. Who's Jacob Blake? Why is he on Drew Brees' helmet? Right. And then the commercials that go along with that. I mean, I don't want my son around it. I don't want him being inundated with the message that America is racist. And I've already told my husband, check the scores on your phone, I guess, because we can't even have the television on to watch the games, even if we wanted to, because he can't think that this is okay. He can't think that this is right. And I have to figure there are a lot of Americans who are in the same boat.
Sarah, if you take the moral high ground, God will reward you. You will always be compensated. Look at what happened to MyPillow, stepping up, and Mike Lindell stepping up. You will never lose. They're not taking the moral high ground. The NFL, amongst this crazy year, had an opportunity to escape COVID scot-free. The season ended pre-COVID, and they could come in here and go, COVID didn't affect us at all. Preseason games, right? Minicamp, OTAs. But they could have escaped COVID, escaped and turned the nation from a bogus racial climate that was created. But no. Why would we miss out on this party?
Yeah.
You know, let's throw our voice in there. You know, let's pay the IOUs we have.
Yeah.
I say shut it down. Close all the leagues. Close all the sports. Let Dana White run the whole table because he's doing it right.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, the UFC is doing it right. The rest, shut them all down. Go home. When you don't eat, because you spent your signing bonus.
You might make some changes.
You may want to come back.
Yeah. Christian, what do you think?
I mean, on the children note, I think our kids or our children, our youth in America are being indoctrinated through schools, through pop culture, and now through sports. And so I think it's dangerous for our youth to grow up in this environment. Something needs to change on that end.
Yeah, like maybe sports just becoming sports again. Like I just want to be able to turn on my freaking TV and watch a game without having to deal with social justice messages. We'll see if the owners ever have any strong enough consequences that they may rethink that one. We've got more to come. Back in a minute.
You got to remember, that Raider Stadium was...
After President Trump announced that he would look into, of course, cutting federal funds to New York City and other cities, Andrew Cuomo had some words for him. He told President Trump to stay away from New York City because, quote, people don't want to have anything to do with him. Here is a little bit of Andrew Cuomo, I mean, I guess trying to, like, intimidate President Trump from coming into New York. I don't really know. Listen.
He can't come back to New York. He can't. He's going to walk down the street in New York. Forget bodyguards. He better have an army if he thinks he's going to walk down the street in New York.
Sounds kind of like a threat to me, gentlemen.
Yep. That is a threat right there to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. And if a civilian does that, he's sleeping on a cold concrete bench behind bars, right? Ironically, what happens right after this threat, I don't want to get ahead of you, in his own city, speaks volumes of what the man actually is able to do in his own city. Okay, you're the laughingstock of New York. You've killed one of the greatest cities in history that I don't know if it ever recovers. All right, you've hurt your own people. That's the most vile evil. I always said Hillary will eat her young. Yeah. Okay, that's the most vile evil to me. When you harm your own people under the guise, as if you're a king and you've got peasants. You've killed your own city, you know, with your brother's help as a commentator.
Yes.
Right? He's helped. Definitely, he's chipped in. It's despicable. They should go after him for this. They should, because lo and behold, anything actually happens to the president the next time he is in New York City, right? That's an actionable threat. That is an actionable threat right there.
What do you think, Christian?
I would just like to know that it's Cuomo who sent COVID patients into nursing homes and killed tens of thousands of elderly. He put his state under tyrannical lockdowns. He encouraged the rioting. He was totally okay with it. He's let a radical New York mayor, Mayor de Blasio, destroy New York City. And now he's using language like a mob boss. It's disgusting. I think they should take offense to, or they should take action against him as well.
Well, so to Christian's point, Cuomo, President Trump hurt his fifis, I think, because he was all kinds of upset. He also blasted President Trump for trying to defund New York City because, you know, Trump let the coronavirus attack New York. Somehow all of this, all of this is Trump's fault. Somehow he is supposed to be the dumbest person on the face of the planet, according to the left, and also some sort of mastermind, who can control where the virus travels to and who it affects. Listen.
It was his negligence that allowed the virus to ambush New York. And that's not rhetorical. It was his negligence that believed the virus was still in China. He calls it the China virus. It's not the China virus. It's the European virus. It came here from Europe, January, February, March. He did nothing until March. March 15th is when he did the European travel ban. We know for a fact the virus came here from Europe, January, February, and March. And he missed it. He is the cause of COVID in New York.
I mean,
he's the cause of COVID, and you are the cause of many grandchildren losing a grandparent, died in an old age home. He's pretending like Trump opened the door to the Lincoln Tunnel and allowed COVID to come in through the back door.
He had a little petri dish.
Exactly.
He just opened it.
He's like, look what I have over here, my precious. You know, come on. Trump went early in 2020 and said, hey, we got to shut things down. And you guys didn't back him. You liberals didn't back him, right? So lies upon lies upon lies. But again, plausible deniability.
And notice he can't say China virus. He has to say European virus because any opportunity to blame white people, if you can't blame Trump, you just blame white people. You blame systemic racism.
Got to play the white Europeans.
And it was Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, like Cuomo, who called Trump a xenophobe when he tried to put the bans on. So it's incredible.
So before we go, you brought up Nancy Pelosi, so I have to ask you, gentlemen, for your opinion on this. I know we don't have time to revisit the full story, but everyone heard it yesterday. Nancy Pelosi said that it was a setup. I take responsibility for falling for a setup with this salon. Here's a little bit of what Nancy Pelosi had to say, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Watch.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years many times, and that when they said, well, we're able to accommodate people one person at a time, and that we can set up that time, I trusted that. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
So apparently, I guess the train of thought...
Plausible deniability.
Right, the train of thought is if you commit a crime, it's a setup if the cops are actually there to have evidence and then use it against you. Hey, that's a setup. That's entrapment. It was not my fault.
It's like someone being very rude to you and they go, I'm so sorry you had your feelings hurt.
Yes.
I didn't do anything. I'm so sorry you had your feelings. Next time, don't have your feelings hurt.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
She had too much vodka that morning to remember, but no, they always blame other people. They can never take responsibility. And I would just like to note, I'm from California, and our hair salons paid thousands of dollars to be able to meet inspections and be able to open up. And then the Democrats closed them down again. So California citizens aren't allowed to go get their hair done. California citizens can't eat inside. But liberal elites or Nancy Pelosi can bend the rules and then blame other people when she gets caught.
Christian, she gets a lot of television time. It's her hair, after all.
Do you think the people in her district will finally wake up to that? Because it's affecting them personally, or just the few small business owners and salon owners who will really get it?
I think the small business owners, the salon owners, but California is all social justice warriors. They're for the lockdown.
They're too far gone.
I don't.
They're too far gone.
Yeah.
All right. We got to take a break. We'll be back.
I think the moderates. Look, when you get out of the cities in California, you go long. You go.
Oh, they're normal.
All right, yesterday's poll, if the election were held today, who would win? 94% of you said Trump. Of course, almost 6% of you said Biden. That is you know what? That is science right there. That is a very scientific poll. Obviously, it's going to hold true, but you don't take my word for it here. You got to make sure that you actually vote in November, please. We all know that the Democrats are going to do whatever they can to lie, cheat, and steal their way to win the election. Today's poll, have you already made up your mind as to whom you are going to vote for? Let us know what you think. It's getting close here, guys. I keep thinking, well, we have time. And then I'm like, oh, wait, it's almost...
61?
Gosh, is it 61 days?
It's 61, 62. Check me on that, but it's there.
Oh.
That's where we're at. Yeah, today's the 3rd, 60, 61.
Oh, my gosh, that's terrifying.
61 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but as 2020 has taught us, a lot can happen in 61 days.
Oh, yeah.
That is what we know to be true in 2020. You can let us know if you've already made up your mind as to whom you are going to vote for by going to The Blaze's Twitter. That is, of course, at The Blaze. Don't forget also to make sure to tune in to these two gentlemen here. You've got Yaku Buyans, host of the Yaku Buyans Show. You've also got Christian Walker, who is amazing.
Yep.
You got to come back soon.
Oh, I wanted
and
that.
don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube. It is Christian Walker on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow.